Welcome back to Quietly Confident Introvert Podcast. This is the podcast that empowers introverted women in business and leadership to develop quiet confidence, harness their introvert strengths, and go after their big, audacious ambitions. So, this month is Women's Month, and therefore, we're looking at a lot of things that impact on women, how we can become allies to help support women, and recognize that although it feels like there's a lot of noise around women's affairs, there's still a lot of work to be done. And this year, International Women's Day theme was Accelerate Action. So, one of the things I want to do today is also to add to the conversation by talking about 3 ways to support introverted women's growth in the workplace. Now, we know that a lot of times introverted women can decide that they are wanting solitude, wanting quietness, and that can result in shrinking back or not showing up as powerfully as you would want to show up. So, there are 2 ways to do this. One of the things that I've learned is that people will talk about the fact that, uh, you know, introverts are great leaders. And sometimes you might find it hard to believe because you think about that quiet person in the corner, that person that prefers to just stick with their work and do it and be more focused, as somebody who cannot lead a team or manage projects. And that creates challenges. So, 2 ways that we want to look at this is one, how can you support your own self in terms of encouraging yourself and building yourself up um, to develop growth in your workplace. Then, secondly, if you're somebody who leads introverts, whether you're introverted or extroverted, these are some of the ways that you can support introverted women in the workplace to rise, to grow, to develop. Because as we well know, there is power in creating diverse teams. And one of the things that I love is the fact that I always work with organizations that want to harness the power of diverse teams in creating the right leadership pipelines. So, before I jump into the topic, though, I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far to Quietly Confident Introvert Podcast, and to those who are sharing it as well. And if you're coming across this podcast for the first time and you haven't subscribed, I want to encourage you to do so because there's a lot of information, a lot of strategies that you can glean, that you can use in your daily life, whether in your workplace or in business or generally in your relationships as an introvert. Because a lot of things that I share here about lived experience. So let's just dive in very quickly. There are 3 ways, like I said, 3 ways or 3 key tips that I want to share. The first one is being an encourager, being an encourager to build confidence and belief. So, one of the ways to look at it is if nobody's cheering you on, you're your own cheerleader. However, like I'm talking about the workplace, there are diverse personalities. There are introverts, ambiverts, and extroverts. These are the 3 key types of personalities you will find. So, whichever your personality, you can be an encourager in the workplace. And what does an encourager do? An encourager helps people to celebrate their wins. That's one of the key things. So whether big or small, an encourager will be somebody who says, "This is great. You've done fantastic, and I just want to celebrate you for how far you've come. And I just want to celebrate you for the progress." Why is this important? Introverts tend to discount what they have achieved. And a lot of times when I work with my clients, when I ask them to talk about themselves, they don't want to talk about themselves. They don't want to shout about the things that they have achieved. That's why it's so important as an encourager for you to be somebody who celebrates wins or who provides an environment or a space to celebrate wins. Because the more you celebrate what's great about you or great about someone, the more they can lean into that to grow. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to be someone who leads visibly. So by that I mean, I've talked about in the introduction that introverts tend to shrink back. And when they shrink back, they're not visible. They're hiding in the background. They're worried about speaking. Or they're not speaking because they're thinking, which is fine. But if you are someone who wants to encourage others to step out of their comfort zone, to step into the limelight, not just for stepping into the limelight's sake, but really to provide leadership, to provide guidance, to provide support in a visible way, then as an encourager, you want to be seen to be encouraging upfront. You want to be seen to be directing upfront. So recently, I watched a movie, and I watched a movie, and it's something I've watched before, Dungeons and Dragons. I really encourage that. I encourage you to go watch it. Now, watch it with the eyes of leadership because there were this band of thieves, and they had this guy who kind of rose up to be their leader. Kind of, he wasn't voted in, he wasn't elected. I'm not saying they're introverts, but I just want to give an example of a scene that really touched me. And spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, I do apologize because you will, but when you watch this scene, you will take it in. So throughout most of the film, he was joking around, and even when he was trying to recruit someone, he talked about the strengths of the other group members. And when he was asked, "What's your own strength?" he said, "Well, I provide options, I provide ideas." And the person now said to him, "Well, your options and your ideas haven't worked." And he said, "Well, I just generate another one." But when they got to this particular scene, it was an interesting one where they had hit the middle of the road. Basically, not the middle, the end of the road. They felt that their cause or their quest was never going to succeed. So everybody was checking out and saying they were going to leave. And what he did was he decided to talk about the why in the first place. What's the reason why they joined the group? What's the reason why they joined the group? And he talked to each person on the reason why they are going on the quest. And he said that if you leave now, you have failed. So they were saying, "Oh, we don't want to fail." But he said, "If you leave now, you have failed." And when he encouraged everybody else, they said, "Oh, so what's yours? Um, what's your your thing for this quest that you don't want to give up?" He said, "Well, actually, I'm the biggest failure of you all because I am the reason why my wife died. I'm the reason why my child I failed in my parenting. Um, I had a error of judgment that cost me my whole family, and I can't seem to get them back at the moment. So I'm the greatest failure of all." And just that admission was an interesting one. So first he encouraged them, and then he said, "I'm just someone like you. And perhaps I'm even the biggest failure here. That is why I'm having the courage to move forward." So I just wanted to talk about this is not forceful leadership. He wasn't, yes, he was jesting around. He wasn't looking like the strongest person. And in fact, of all of them, he didn't have supernatural powers, he didn't have brute strength, but he was the strategist. And for a while, they tended to laugh about it, discount it, but without him, they couldn't get to achieve what they achieved. Every time he came up with a strategy. And even when plan A failed, he would go for plan B and plan C. Now, very funny film, but watching it with the eyes of leading visibly, leading vulnerably. Just like I talked about last month, I talked a lot about authenticity and vulnerability. These are ways that you can encourage others around you to follow your example. So that's the first one. The second one is to be an enhancer. So yes, the three ways are ease. You guessed right. So it's to be an enhancer. An enhancer is somebody who provides tools, resources for growth. So When you want to be an enhancer, one way that you can do that is to mentor or to sponsor. So if you have climbed the career ladder and you're in the workplace, you're doing great as an introvert, that's a great thing to get along and find other introverts who are struggling and mentor them. Or if you're in a position to sponsor, especially for Black introverts, sponsorship works better than mentorship and coaching, because when they get the mentorship, when they get the coaching, they still face barriers. It's what they still face concrete barriers as ethnic minorities, especially Black women. So being somebody who can sponsor enhances their opportunity, enhances um, their capability to break down the barriers in the workplace. The other way that you can enhance and be an enhancer or enhance your own opportunities for growth in the workplace as an introvert is actually to collaborate. So go ahead and find people around you. Extroverts are good, I know you'll be thinking, oh no, 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 no. I just want quiet introverts. What growth are you going to gain from someone who is exactly like you and who is trying to stay within their comfort zone just like yourself? Your best growth opportunity comes from going to someone who will stretch you out of your comfort zone into the next level of growth. And for a while, you can be what I call a chameleon, which means you can actually you know, change your color to suit the situation and change back to your real color as an introvert. At the core, people say to me, oh, you can't be an introvert because of the way that you behave on stage or when you're out there. Truly, what I do is chameleon. I practice the art of being a chameleon. When I get into an environment, I know that I have to smile, I know that I have to make eye contact, and I try not to blend in. I would love to stand out. And so I used to want to blend in so that nobody sees me, but not blending in actually helps me. Now, I might mimic the style of an extrovert to get ahead, but while an extrovert will carry on and be building their energy, mine is depleting. It's just what Simon Sinek says. He says an introvert and an extrovert go out with 5 coins. The extrovert would gain 5 more coins by the time they get home, and the introvert would have spent the whole 5 coins and be basically broke and need to go back home and find another 5 coins. That's the way to look at it. So basically, by collaborating with extroverts as well, when you are depleting, because they are gathering from the stimulus around, there will be a balance in the process. So that's how you can gain from enhancing. The other thing is, if you're in a position of leadership, why not help introverts develop skills in the area of communication, in the area of body language? So, and in one of the talks that I spoke, the research that I did on allyship, especially with being an ally, and I talked about it, the research shows that within the recruitment process, within policies, there are built in barriers against women rising in their careers. And so, what you want to do as an enhancer is to find the opportunity to upskill the introverted women around you. Or if you're an introverted woman in a position of leadership, how can you look into those barriers and break them down? By building skills, developing skills, negotiation skills, influencing skills, helping people build a strong personal brand, helping people with communication. These are trainings that I have offered recently to different corporations and different organizations. And so I recommend this training because it creates light bulb moments, it creates enhancements, and it creates capabilities for women to be able to step out. So that's number two. Number three that I want to share, and the final one is being an empowerer. an empowerer, somebody who really empowers people. And that requires you to create pathways for leadership and influence. I've already mentioned a little bit of that in the enhancing of skills and everything else. And you can do that by encouraging um, leadership development. Now, a great leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So, as an introvert yourself, how are you developing your leadership skills so that you can empower those around you? One of the challenges a lot of women face is they get promoted without the right leadership development. And they get to that space where they need to lead and they struggle. So, with that struggling, they can't make an impact. And if they're especially quiet and withdrawn and reserved, that makes it even worse. They get talked over, they get walked over, they are challenged by all the things that they are going through. So what do you do in that instance? You become somebody that empowers, and you empower by fostering leadership development of those around you. Yeah. You encourage people, you empower people by mm, creating opportunities for them to lead a project, lead things, create psychological safety so people know that they can fail forward and they will not be penalized for trying, for putting up their hands to say, I'm going to do this. And you give them permission to fail, give them permission, create a safe space, provide positive feedback, and create an environment where people support each other. The other thing is you want to challenge biases. So if people have this notion about introverts, about ethnic minority women, why don't you be the person that is empowering the people around you who feel disempowered by challenging the biases? The way to do that as well is you've got to be aware of your own bias, right? You've got to understand that we all have biases. So just because somebody might be explicit about this, sometimes is actually, at least they're not pretending. But yours might not be that explicit, and you might have to dig deep to actually uncover what your real biases are. And I encourage that, because that way you will show that you're working on being making a difference while addressing your own uh, innate bias or things that you don't agree with, and that will help. And the other thing that you empower people is to give them access to the right information that will help. I've worked in places where the information has been withheld purposely to sabotage my efforts to succeed and to sabotage my efforts to get to the end result quicker. I didn't realize it until the end. So don't be that person. Be that person that provides access so that people are empowered to achieve their goals around you. So that's really just what I wanted to share today. And one last element of empowering is also help people to define their boundaries, women defining their boundaries, and help them protect it. So I'm now speaking directly to male allies, especially. So whether you're introverted, extroverted, but you are a man in the workplace and you see women around you, whether they're introverted or extroverted, help them protect their boundaries. If they don't even know how to set those boundaries because they're afraid, they're scared, why don't you help them to define those boundaries and help them to protect those boundaries? Use your position to protect the boundaries, because again, it's about psychological safety where they can feel that they can come and talk about things that they're challenging. They can come and talk about when they're being threatened, when their boundaries are being eroded. That is what an empowerer would do. So just to recap, the way that you the three ways that you support introverted women to grow in the workplace is to help them by being somebody who um, who encourages them. Encourage, be an encourager. Encourage building confidence and belief. Then be an enhancer. Provide tools, resources for growth. Then be an empowerer. Create pathways for leadership and influence and provide opportunities for people to step up and lead and help protect boundaries so that there's psychological safety and people feel like they can thrive in the workplace. So that's it. I hope that you found this valuable. And I hope that as a woman as well, you got tips that you can use to ask for support, the right kind of support that you need to be able to grow in the workplace. A lot of people are under pressure at the moment, and a lot of people are struggling, not knowing how to harness their quiet strengths to be leaders. So, these tips will help you to see how you can not only support your own self, but ask for the right kind of support. As usual, with all my sessions, I always end with a nice, beautiful quote. So here is one great one for you. This one, this time around, is mine as well. And it says, quiet confidence and bold leadership can be synonymous. So, dear introverted female leaders, never discount yourself. I'll say that again. Quiet confidence and bold leadership can be synonymous. Therefore, dear introverted female leader, never discount yourself. So I hope that you found this valuable. Take the time to think about the things that I've talked about and how you can use them on your journey of growth in the workplace. And make sure that you share with me in comments which of these strategies, which of these ways are you going to consider first? Or do you think is a gap in the strategies they are applying to grow in your workplace? Let me know. So in the meantime, I just want to keep encouraging you that you should continue to lean into your quiet strengths, harness them, and use them to build your pathway to holistic success. And also check out other episodes of my Quietly Confident Introvert for more tools, for more strategies that will help you, and look out for workshops. And if you need any support in either training or in coaching, by all means, get in touch. I'm here to support you through your journey. Take care and God bless. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Quietly Confident Introverts. If you found today's discussion valuable, please subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast with others. Your feedback fuels our mission to empower introverted women leaders. Remember, you can also connect with me, Patience Ogunbona, at The Visionary Introverted Woman, where we are dedicated to helping you discover your inner strength and lead with purpose. Stay true to your vision. Embrace your introverted superpowers, and let's make a lasting impact together. Until next time, stay confidently introverted.